So good evening, everybody. Let's get started. This topic might seem something from a college's perspective or an institution's perspective of how to set up a ecosystem, entrepreneurship ecosystem or a startup ecosystem. You can call it e-cell or probably a pre-incubation setup or probably an incubation setup. I just want to share what I'm going to share today. First and foremost, it would not be only from the perspective of a college. I am also going to give some I don't want to use the word gyan, but there will be some topics which are covered from the students' perspective also, because I've got a few students also who have registered and want to be a part of it. So I will be bringing in both perspectives. The students' perspective, at the end of the day, any startup ecosystem cannot thrive without studentpreneurs or what we call as student entrepreneurs. So I will be focusing on that as well. I will be giving a few basic I call it basic, but it is not properly implemented in most of the campuses that I visit. I work with around 75, 80 odd colleges across Karnataka, a bit in Pune and then Tamil Nadu as well as in Kerala. But most of the times I see the basics of a foundation of a hardcore business sometimes gets missed out. Okay, in the cloud of high-tech high-tech entrepreneurship kind of thing, this basics gets missed out. So I'm going to spend at least 20-30 minutes on some basics which are a must, and sometimes it skips our mind, okay, for a successful business system. So that is something which I will be sharing. So it will be from a student's perspective. It will also be from the colleges or the faculty's perspective as well. So one area which I'll be spending is the ecosystem, understanding the ecosystem. How does the college build internal expertise and also can outsource one second, I think somebody needs to mute. Okay. Yeah. Somebody needs to mute, please. Thank you. Yeah. So second part is how does the college build internal expertise? At the same time, how does the college build external expertise, or what are the topics or areas that you need to have external expertise on? That's something which I'll spend some time. Internal expertise, I'm going to focus on both types of colleges, the technical colleges as well as probably your business kind of colleges or the commerce kind of colleges, where sometimes creating the software, creating an application on the cloud needs to bring about technical expertise, and that's where sometimes these startups don't get off the mark because they are dependent on somebody for the technology. So I'll share some light on both those kind of educational institutes. Okay. Okay. The next aspect which I will speak of is basically the must-know mantras, which have to be resonated thoroughly inside the ecosystem on a regular basis. And lastly, I shall share with you a step-by-step process of setting up the ecosystem. So this is predominantly what I want to share. Some golden rules in my session. Any point in time, if anybody wants to have a discussion, just unmute yourself and we can have a discussion then and then. Because I prefer going in an unstructured manner. So any point in time, I'm open for discussion. So just unmute and let's have a discussion. These are predominantly what I have picked up from my experiences of visiting various campuses, being part of a lot of incubation setups. So that's something which I'm going to share, my observation and my experience in hardcore IT sales. That's what I'm actually going to share. So let's get started. This is predominantly a standard startup ecosystem. You can start anywhere. Okay, that's the beauty about an ecosystem. It does not mean which came first. Let us not beat around hen came first or the egg came first. You can start anywhere, but normally the process is the first technical skills. Then you have something which requires the entrepreneurship culture. Okay, when I'm talking about the entrepreneurship culture, that's what one question which I asked before a lot of people joined. Are students still placement driven? Are admissions happen because the campus में placements ज़्यादा होता है? Or is it the other way around that this college gets me wings to take my startup to the next level? So that's an entrepreneurship is a culture. It's a kida. Everybody cannot become entrepreneurs. Everybody does not have the inkling towards starting up their business. It's more emotional than a job. Okay, so that's something. Then experienced mentors are part and parcel of an ecosystem. Then you have the regulatory environment. Some ma'am, Vijayashree ma'am was actually talking about the intellectual properties know-how, because that's going to be part and parcel. The laws needs to be followed. In fact, yesterday in Bangalore, close to Bangalore, there was a very big company of Apple iPhone manufacturers subletting a contract, a Taiwanese-based company. They did not have a strong HR regulations in place. The labor laws were not properly formed, so they got into some, let's not talk further. But so even then, the vice president of that company actually got fired. So regulatory environment is a part and parcel of any startup culture. Visible collaborative culture, which I'll speak of in detail. I'll just leave it for the moment. Visible successes. Now, since I said entrepreneurship or starting our own business is more emotional, it's based on aspirations. So these successes need to be sold, and how to do that, I have a particular slide on that. How do you bring about aspirations in students? Because starting a business is purely aspiration driven. You don't start a business because of logic of making good money or big money. You start big business because somewhere some emotion says, I want to be like this person, or I want to show to people that I am different. That's where it starts from. So these visible successes act like a motivator or a reason for change. Okay. Then risk tolerance. Okay. This is again a key aspect of any startup. When I talk of risk tolerance, how much risk can I take? At the same time, it should be a winning bargain. I don't need to lose too much. Or at the same time, just because I was very conservative, I lose taking my business to the next level. Classic example, White Hat Junior, a small company. They sold themselves to, or rather the other way around. Byju's picked them up and they expanded, pumped them, and now they have a national presence. Okay, so it was a question of going big at the right time. So the risk tolerance part we will be talking about. And lastly, I will be focusing something on availability of capital. How do you manage your funds? How do you get funds in the system? So this is predominantly what an ecosystem is look like. I'm not going to go technically in this order. I am going to go from a different perspective of the manner in which I shared the agenda. Of course, all these points will be covered. First and foremost, let us understand the college ecosystem only from a strength and opportunity. I'm not bringing in weaknesses and threats here. Okay. So first and foremost, strengths perspective, engineering college has an extra advantage. The infrastructure is ready in place. You have a lot of laboratories where you can, and I know a lot of colleges have actually signed up for Center of Excellences from big technical companies like IBM. You name it, the software comes to you. Educational software, licensed educational software comes to you for a damn cheap price, or most of the times free also, to set up labs. So you have an infrastructure which can actually passed on from a research purposes, or doing R&D on a particular prototype of a product. Even though the product might be on embedded technology or the likes of it, you have a infra in place. That's your biggest strength, which actually works like a carrot for any technical startup. Okay. Yes, the normal B schools or commerce-based schools, they have their own strengths in terms of an infra which is physical in nature, but they also bring to the table a technology or a knowledge pool. Call it the faculties, or you can call them the research work done by the faculties, the guides in place. So that's something which you bring to the table as a big strong strength. Technical know-how, it could be domain-based expertise, it could be marketing expertise. Also, I'm talking about domain-based expertise. And lastly, the research experience that comes into with the college. Opportunity front, simple. You have an existing connect already, okay? Especially with your local market. Yeah. Any question, ma'am? Hello? Somebody said something. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the existing industry connect, okay, which can act as a a booster for getting customers. That's the plus point that you have. Even your existing campus connects or campus placements also can work in some areas for a particular student startup to get a market for a student startup. That's one area as well. The local market connect, very strong, because when a college goes and says that we have a particular solution for a particular problem in the local environment or geographical based environment, there is a ready taker rather than new entrant coming from just outside the college. So that's a big plus. And the college has its own brand which can be leveraged, especially with respect to some government orders. There are a lot of colleges which do government-based projects taken on startups for starting from their campuses. So that's one more area. So you have a lot of strengths and opportunities. It is only about bringing everything together. Okay. And there comes the basic needs. Now, I would like to ask some questions. There are two strong needs from a student's perspective who wants to start his own business. One is intrinsic and one is extrinsic. Can somebody just share their ideas what I mean by intrinsic, or what comes to your mind when I say intrinsic needs, okay, and extrinsic needs? Extrinsic, everybody can guess it, but I want to know intrinsic needs. Anybody, what would be your thought process on what could be the intrinsic needs of a student who wants to start his business? Intrinsic. Anybody? Hello?
Aspiration.
Lovely. Okay. The seeds of entrepreneurship to be sown in a particular student. Okay. One. But I am thinking that I want to start my own business. Now, what could be my intrinsic needs? I'm taking it to the next level, ma'am. I want this. I suppose I'm a student. I want to start my own business. I am keen on starting my own business. Now, what do I do? What will happen? What intrinsic needs do I still need?
Is it sense of achievement?
The other way around. Sense of achievement comes after a very, very, very long time, unless we are extremely lucky.
Some sort of guidance, like mentors.
Guidance could be more like extrinsic, ma'am. If I am getting stuck in my product development, okay, that is extrinsic help. Okay, I don't have the technology know-how to create my product and take it to the next level. I need guidance. That would still be extrinsic, according to me. Yes, we can actually have a discussion on that. Okay, let me put it this way. Yes,
what about wanting to explore? You have some ideas whether it will we will be able to put it into this thing. There's a need to see that whether it
can I put it this way? A fear of the fear that gets associated with any startup or any business, the fear of risk, the fear of being laughed at, the fear of failure.
Risk is there, but when you're starting out, I think that the excitement of what is there? Why can't I try?
Okay, but can I put it this way? I said, okay, let me rephrase my question. You're right there. Let me rephrase my question. I said, I want to start my own business. But over a period of time, even though I start my startup, I've done the basics in place. But there will be a lot of time where things will not go as per your plan. Okay, having started a lot of companies, I can tell you one thing, that things don't go as per plan more often when you start your own business. Okay, and that is the point in time when there are two things that is intrinsic to the person who is starting the business. One is inner strength. No, the inner strength, the what we call as the inner inspiration or the motivation which will stand the test of time and probably the test of failure. Okay, there also colleges have to play a role. I'll share with you what. And the second one is moral support. And when I say moral support, I'm talking about moral support from the faculty, moral support from the family of the person also. This is also a key, because when your business is not going as per plan, you come back home, and if anybody in the family, I have seen this, I have faced it, and let me tell you one thing, it hurts. Okay, and you sometimes feel like closing the entire door and leaving it and taking up a job, because one standard dialogue, this is especially coming from somebody whom you love or adore, father or mother or somebody coming and telling you, I told you that day only, why did you start your business? You could not look at that friend of yours who is now working in this company earning this kind of salary. This is something which actually takes off. The inner strength is probably something, or the inner moral support that you always need probably is, it is not there in the external hands, it's there in inside each individual's hands. But this is predominantly one of the things which we need to focus on from the ecosystem perspective. What to do? We will share that in the coming slides. So let me just go back to the slide. So this is predominantly what I meant by intrinsic. My self-belief coupled with moral support. And trust me, even though this is intrinsic in nature, every college, every what do you call, e-cell or incubation setup needs to focus a lot on self-belief and moral support. Now, this does not mean giving gyan. This does not mean calling that person and saying, yes, man, you can do it. Come on. No, that's not what I'm speaking of. But there should be a logic to kindle emotions. And that's what we will be talking in some detail. Logic has to be there to kindle emotions as well. Then talking about the extrinsic. Now, here the entire gambit comes in. Mentoring, technical help. Now, it could be varied. It could be technical, legal, finance, HR, go-to-market, operations, etc. Expertise, which I don't have, and I need to pick up to make my business thrive. Could be on a technical front, could be on the non-technical front, could be on the go-to-market front, needs to be picked up. Now, this is easy because this is pure logic. How do you build it up? Any college can do it. So this is not much on this. I would like to spend time on both. Then the third thing that they're looking at from an extrinsic perspective is funding and the infrastructure to set up my company, which is, of course, a given with respect to a college incubation setup. Of course, should not be given free. We'll talk to it in detail, talk about it in detail when we come there. So how do we talk about intrinsic support? A few things. I'm going randomly. First thing is, let us understand that entrepreneurship seeds are sown most often, I put it very diplomatically, But as far as I am concerned, it's always only by aspirations. The aspirations might be positive inspirations, or sometimes negative emotions also drive people that I want to prove this person that I can get this. Even those kind of aspirations work in respect to somebody starting on the path to entrepreneurship, or what we call as business. So aspirations are created, one, by role model effect. Now the role model effect, okay, you don't need to bring in, there are two types of aspirations. One is, I see somebody spending a lot. Okay, I'm just giving you out of my own personal experience. When I saw somebody spend a lot of money, okay, spending is an understatement. Okay, what happens is, suddenly sometimes a seed of aspiration, I also want to get into a place where I can spend this kind of money. Now these kind of aspirations also work from role model. But there is another role model effect, which is called peer role model effect, which is equally capable, equally important. If I get somebody whom I see, and I get a sense of, inspiration, or I feel that if this person can do it, even I can do it. Okay, understand the logic. If this person can do it, even I can do it, also is an effect of aspirations. One is, the height is so big that you want to get there so that you can lead your dream life. That is also aspiration. But there is another effect which says, if this person can do it, who is also just like me, then I also can do it. So this mix and match has to be there. You cannot have interactions in your e-cell or incubation setup with only people from one kind of background. When I say background, not technical background, I'm talking about one kind of aspirations of the story. You need to bring about a match. You can get somebody who is probably even a 10th pass and coming and being successful in a particular business of it. The business might not have been taken in big shape, but still probably much better than probably what we expect. That person can come and share to your fellow students and say that this. So what happens? The realization happens. If this guy can do it, I can do it, and my aims are less. So that kind of effect also happens. So one aspect about bringing about intrinsic support is by aspirations, which are both. One is the high-end achievers from a lavish lifestyle, which you want to, wealth generation kind of a thing. It could be even charity at sometimes. Or the other one is somebody at par at me. If he can do it, I can do it. Both work in getting me, building my inner strength. Second, moral support. Okay, or this is also part and parcel of both. Do we have a proper space to highlight, the startup culture in the college, biz-a-biz, okay, placements? You enter into any college, with due respect to most of the colleges, the big hall of fame or the notice board or the big banners during admission time is predominantly loaded. It is predominantly loaded with campus placements or this guy's package in a particular company. That's what we sell. I'm not against this, but what happens is, when a student enters the campus for his admissions, we have started loading him with information that you are destined to get into this kind of company. So somewhere the aspiration or the inspiration to start his business, so his or her business, kind of reduces. So that's one thing. Please take care. I'm not saying give even 50-50. At least give a 30% share. Because it takes time to build a strong ecosystem. So spend some time on establishing a hall of fame in the notice board. It could be your notice board. It could be any place where you are advertising your achievements, to dedicate it to startup achievers. Now the achievement might not be big, but sometimes you still need to boost them with regular giving them their share of fame. Okay. One more thing. Yeah, some Vijayashree ma'am during our initial discussion was talking about they have regular events. Yes. You need to have regular events. Sometimes it's not about how big the event was or how small the event was. These regular interactions, it could be even an interaction, a meeting with your entire students and the faculties or the ESL team. These meetings have to be on a regular basis. I will say at least once a week, because unlike a job, the motivation goes down very fast. One small challenge, one small fight in the house, one small, argument with a friend of yours who says, "Pagal, like you're wasting your time." That's enough to drain me. And if I am drained, and if I don't meet regularly and get charged, that's the charge is going to soak in my other friends also, and I might even pull their charge down as well. So make sure that these exchanges or information exchanges, it could be repetition of some events, some meetings. That's okay, but this has to be done on a regular basis. One example which I will like to throw an analogy. I'm sure somebody MSSW, ma'am would know that Alcoholic Anonymous. The impact is not about they giving gyan why we should not drink, but predominantly Alcohol Anonymous works on making it into a habit that daily event 6 to 6:30 or 7 where people come meet, so that when the charge is down, I get instant recharge for bringing back my moral strength and bringing back my inner convictions rejuvenated. So that recharge should be faster. Please understand this. Make sure that you incorporate this in your plan. Okay, because action keeps the fear of unknown away. Anything when you're doing about this, but when you're sitting idle, okay, that is when the small doubt becomes into a huge monster inside our mind. So that's something. Okay, placements are easy to measure. Okay, placements are very easy to measure. This year, this many companies came, this many students got campus. This is the average pay packet, easy to know. But there is no measurement for a startup, because I don't know whether my startup has succeeded or failed until it sees the end of the day. Even if the startup has failed in another 2 years' time, it will still come up. Okay, so what do I do? How do I measure statuses? So predominantly focus on smaller milestones. We will talk about this when we talk about the procedure to set up the Excel system, but focus on milestone-based measurement of the startup systems, and keep sharing a small success event which is happening in each of these companies. It works as a continuous booster. One advantage from the student perspective is, if I start a startup in the external market, starting a startup inside a campus or an incubation setup, for me, the biggest advantage is my cost of failure is still manageable, or I know that this is my budget limit which I can work it on. So I have that comfort feel that my the extent of loss can be taken care of to a large extent. So that's something which I will leave it at that. Okay. So any questions, feel free to interrupt me and ask me. Okay. Because I love when people ask me questions. Don't wait for me to say any questions. So I'm going further if I don't get any questions. Okay. So this is predominantly from the inner strength perspective, moral support, and my self-belief. The constant recharge has to be there. Extrinsic, I'm sure most of you all know this. I'm just going through each of these topics in detail. One is infrastructure, internal expertise, building up an external expertise, networking and connect. And then the last topic which I'll be talking of in this particular subset is angel investors, VC funding, and government. How do you take care of your funding? First, infrastructure, space. Okay, any company needs a space. Now, a small request: don't give it for free. Okay, one of the biggest challenges which I face is a college giving space for free. Give it at a very reasonable amount, no problem. But when you give it for free, okay, first it loses its value. And the second most important thing is people don't allocate funds for a particular thing like infrastructure. Okay, and the third thing is, when you take a rent, it becomes legally, because when they register their company under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the address space has to be given. So you need to give them rent so that it becomes legally strong, that it's a separate entity and you have just rented a part of your space of your college to those people. So don't give it for free. Make a proper agreement. One room, one cabin, whatever you're giving, make sure that you document it and take a fees for it. Don't give it for free. So this is something which I wanted to share very clearly. Okay. Labs and software, yes, the technical advantage which a student, especially a tech startup, needs, that is the key thing, which especially a big advantage an engineering college or a technical college has. They can actually go ahead and utilize the high-end equipments to set up their own businesses. So that is something which I will leave it at that. So that's something which you should give it. You can charge a fee, but I would normally suggest, because you can't charge a fee because you have got it from an educational research purposes. So you just have to make sure that legal binding that these. Yeah, somebody has a question. Okay. So hello, can somebody? Yeah. So talking about that, make sure that legally speaking, you can say that this company is doing research in their labs. That's absolutely fine. So that's kind of things you have to take care of. Let's now come to the internal expertise. Now here I'm dividing the colleges in two types of colleges. One is the domain specific colleges. I've even added fashion design there. Engineering, BCA, MCA, fashion design, etc. These kind of colleges which are domain centric, domain specific. Okay. Now these kind of colleges have an advantage because they are not bringing to the table the go-to-market approach or their marketing angle or the the benefits to the customers, they are predominantly from a domain, a technology based domain. Even a fashion design thing, it's predominantly a domain specific in terms of creating a furniture or creating a interior decor or even a dress. So they bring to the table a physical product, and their expertise is what is very strong when you talk about that. When we talk about business and commerce colleges, predominantly from an MBA perspective, or you can talk about a BBA or a BCom kind of colleges or an MCom kind of colleges, there are a few students who want to start their own business. Their expertise is their go-to market. They feel if I have a product, they have an idea in mind, and they say, I want to take this market to the masses. The biggest challenge that they face is, how do I get to the go-to market strategy? What is going to be my reaching the customer space? If it is on the cloud, it's an application which they are doing. If it is an application, now their biggest problem is they are technically dependent on somebody to create the platform. And what happens is they sometimes get locked because they don't have a domain expertise of creating an app. So now here is something where you have to be very careful. You have to, give the requisite knowledge, the know-how to those kind of students. That I'll give an analogy experiment, and then I will bring it to the real-time example that we were taking. Suppose I want to start a restaurant. Okay. Now I should not, I need cooks. But if I'm dependent on cooks for my market, okay, as a go-to market strategy, the taste of my food, then the moment the cook leaves, I am actually mercilessly tied at the hands of the cook. Now that's a big challenge. So in such cases, what we need to do is, you need to build your expertise with respect to a process-centric system. That's one way to create value for yourself. You say, my restaurant brings in drive-in. You don't have to wait. The moment you log in your order at the place where, I'm just giving a hypothetical example. The moment you log in your doorbell at the drive-in counter, the moment you come to the exit counter, your food will be ready. Now here I am not dependent on the cook. My entire plan or the business value proposition is building a process. It could be 5 minutes delivery, like what Domino's says, 30 minutes delivery. Okay. You order 30 minutes, the delivery comes to you. Now that is their value proposition. They don't bring in taste. Okay. Whereas the technical people, for example, somebody is fashion design clothes, their area of specialization or their value proposition is, my designs will not be available in the market. Look at the difference between two kind of startups. One is a domain centric startup, will always focus on the technical benefits that the customer gets. Whereas these people who are into business or commerce based startups, they have to focus on a different value proposition. At the same time, what happens is they get less dependent on the technical partner that they are joining hands with. If you can bring about a marriage between two like-minded friends, okay, one a technical expert, one a domain expert, and one the go-to-market approach, then there is nothing like it. But if sometimes there is a trust deficit between the partners, then this kind of scenarios, you need to know, if it is my company, I am going to create a value proposition on the processes. I am going to create a value proposition on my go-to-market strategy. This is my value proposition. My value proposition will not be dependent on the platform or the tech provider. If this can be taken care of, then commerce and business colleges also have an advantage. So the first and focus for any standalone MBA college or standalone commerce-based college, this is what you have to educate your startups. Either they tie up hands with a technical, expert whom they trust, and there is a beautiful handshake that has happened, then perfect. Okay. Going further, the basic business gyan has to be given. If you are a tech startup, okay, now I'm bringing in the other side. If you are engineering college, okay, and you have a lot of technical ideas that have come up, please understand, an idea is only as good as it has a market. Lot of times I have interacted with a lot of colleges. I go to NITK Surathkal for a lot of some of these activities or ESL based activities. Students come and talk to me. They are technical ideas, but they don't know the idea kidhar kaam aata hai, who has got a problem. So when I talk to you on some of the basic business gyans that is needed for sutras, which is required today, you will understand that some of the times unknowingly or knowingly we have entered into that trap, and we are not able to do justice towards the business part of it. So idea is only as good as it's sold. So there are some few things. At the end of the day, it's how much dollars can my product get into the market defines the success of a business plan. So that's something which you have to take care of. Then inter-department collaboration. Now this is a must. Okay. Yes, it's a big challenge. Okay? With due respects to especially in engineering college setup where you have a huge stream, I'm not talking from a faculty perspective, I'm talking even from a student perspective. The handshake with an engineering student and an MBA student does not happen as smooth as one would normally think it should happen, especially in engineering college which has an MBA. I don't know why. Seriously, I do not know why. I know a few factors, but then I still don't know why. So here is where there's a huge trust deficit. But if you can create an ambience where the engineering college student and an MBA college students can join hands, nothing like it. But at the same time, partnership should be out of a free will. Okay, don't force. And I've seen some colleges doing a setup. They randomly take the topper from engineering college and a topper from MBA college and say, you both start a company. It will not work because business ke liye, one of partnership ke liye, the trust is the main thing, and that defies no logic. Okay, so that's something which you'll have to focus on. Let them have a free choice. Sometimes if they can get some partner from the outside campus, like MSSW, just know the ma'am just shared in the beginning, that if they can have others coming to the campus, nothing like it. That's how a stronger ecosystem gets emerged. Okay. I spoke about the intellectual property part of it. Yeah. Suppose MBA or a commerce student wants to set up their own business. Though they are dependent on technology, we need to also, one more way to build a value is the intellectual property. The idea part of it has to be very strong, and if it can withstand the test of time, nothing like it. So that's some area where you can actually, I'll give you one example when we come to it later on. Okay, external expertise, I'm sure you would have got this thing, but there are some basic requirements which you need every startup student entrepreneur and the members of the e-cell or the incubation setup. They should know this inside out, at least the basic steps. With a lot of examples, because this needs to be kept on reiterating. Design thinking and idea generation. This is idea generation is part of design thinking as a process. Why I share design thinking is because the first step of design thinking actually states a very simple thing: be empathetic with your customer. Okay, find somebody's problem to solve. Don't come out and say, I have a fantastic idea, this is what my product is, or this is what my idea is. So it's always the best way is find people's problems and say, I can find a solution to this problem. And if that is the origin of your business idea, then you are in safer and stronger hands. That's the biggest advantage. Otherwise, I have solved a problem, but I'm going and looking out in the market who has that problem. That is a bigger ask. It's a very tough ask. Finding a solution and then saying who has this problem. It is the other way around is easy. At least if you know a common set of people have this kind of problem, and then that is what design thinking says. Find a set of people whose problem you need to solve and use idea generation to solve that problem. The 5 steps, you can work it out and then you find it. So that's the first thing. Then external expertise has to be grilled into people with respect to intellectual property rights. This is a must, especially if your product is standing on the pillars of a unique idea or a unique value proposition. So you need to give them gyan on that, and every e-cell member needs to know this. Third, positioning and sales pitch. Okay, you have to build expertise. Okay, don't we'll talk about this in detail when I talk about this point in detail. We do not. It's always better that we say find a set of people, one target segment, and solve that target segment's problems, rather than say, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. मैं सब कुछ करता हूँ. The value proposition becomes diluted. Okay, so don't do that. The processes to set up a business, okay, has to be understood properly. Predominantly from the entire idea generation to go-to-market strategy with respect to managing resources, scaling up resources, funding, everything comes part of it. The aspect of which I will be talking in detail today is, I shall share, though this is not part of a startup, how to set up a startup, but I will spend some time on creating or understanding a business model canvas. Today, anybody is going for funding. Any VC asks for only one thing: show me your business model canvas. A business model canvas is one document, one page document, where I can understand your entire history. That the information is loaded in that one page, and it's a self evaluatory tool also. It's a very powerful tool. That one canvas can give you inside out gyan about your business, where you stand, how your growth path is, where you can scale up, what are the challenges faced. Everything comes across in one particular sheet. It's a very powerful tool. So everybody in the e-cell, including the startups and the faculty members, need to know about this. So this is something which we will be talking on. And obviously, like I said, you need external expertise for people to keep the engine of dreams pumping. So you need to build in external people to come and share their success story. Sometimes sharing of failures also helps. Nothing wrong in that. So those kind of exchanges. So this is predominantly a small set of expertise which is very common. I've brought in only which is very commonly required, where you have to have external expertise. So these are some areas which you can think on. I will share these slides to anybody who's interested. Just text me in WhatsApp that you want the slides, and I'll share you the slides. So don't worry on that. You don't have to take screenshots. Okay. Yeah. Now let us come to the basic sutras. Now I'm for next 10-15 minutes time. I will not be talking from a startup perspective, not from an ecosystem perspective, but by a startup's perspective. Okay, where I will be sharing a few pointers where I have seen startups go wrong. Okay, because somewhere they didn't focus on these areas. Okay, that's what I built. So I wanted to share this to everybody in the ecosystem so that everybody knows this inside out, be it students, faculty members, or anybody in the ecosystem should know this. So once these things are taken care of, most of the times you will not go wrong on the basic error creeping in. Okay. So first and foremost, I'll just list down all the things, and each of these slides I will talk in detail. The first one is, first is idea is only as good as it has a customer. Okay, we'll talk about it in detail. How to position the product, I said we will talk about that in detail. What is limited liability? Can liability be limited? We'll talk about that. Equity is costlier than debt. Self-employed versus business. I have a reason why I put this slide. Yes, it's Robert Kiyosaki's point of view, but I'm taking it to the next level because today, what do VCs expect when they are going to fund a particular company? Pay yourself first. Okay, a mistake which most of these established companies also do. And this is very strong in not only student startups, most of the startups that I see. When to go for funding? What's the right time to go for funding? Do I dilute earlier or do I dilute later on? That's a call. How to decide on that? Best source of funding. We will talk about this in detail, and which is the best source of funding? We'll talk about that in detail. And lastly, I'll spend some time on business model canvas, and then we talk about the processes to set up a ecosystem. So the first one, definitely, I spent some time before and just reiterating. It's always better to find somebody's problem and solve that problem. This is the crux of design thinking, and it's a well acclaimed area. Rather than solve a problem and then start looking at who is going to buy my product or my idea, it's going to be very tough. And I come across people who have actually one idea comes into their mind and they take the idea to the next level. They spend a lot of money and then they are in a soup because either the market that they have to explore is far away or it is different. It's a different place altogether, or they don't know who is going to be benefited by the problem, or sometimes it might get into a legal tangle. You are not supposed to sell a particular product and you have a fantastic idea, or there's a legal binding that this kind of services cannot be brought to customers. It becomes a challenge. For example, a simple reward system kind of system also has to be evaluated, that you might be having a reward system because of which you are getting customers, but your legal team needs to be strong to say that it is not lottery. Okay, so sometimes it can be configured as lottery and you might lose out on, you might be penalized. So most of the times it's always better to find out a particular problem set and then attack on solving the problem. Okay. Second, that's what design thinking of phase one says. Anybody has any question here, please ask me, because I'm making a very sweeping statement. I would like, if somebody has a particular example, it makes it much more easier. I want people to interrupt me at any point in time and ask me questions. Okay. Yeah. Somebody has a question. Somebody unmuted. Okay. There are two things. Yeah. Somebody. Who is talking? Can I start? Okay. Somebody is talking on 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So first and foremost, success of an idea has got two aspects. One is you have to have a market. Customers have to buy it. And most important thing is you need to take action. Only idea will not get you results. Okay. Sometimes idea might not be very strong or very powerful, but because you were persistent with the idea and you started learning and you tinkered your product in the move, okay, you actually came out with a fantastic product. Now, one example I was expecting somebody to talk of was the example of 3M note stick pads, or what do you call that? sticky notes. Okay, 3M came. Now that product was discovered accidentally, and then they realized that people can use this for a post-it kind of a thing. It was very easy to find a problem for a problem which people faced in terms of sticky notes. Okay, but otherwise it becomes very tough if you have idea and then you take that idea to the next level, but then you do not know who's got this problem to solve. So this is something which I very strongly stress on. And because if you are going for funding, the first question which your investor will ask you is, what is the problem statement you are solving? If you don't have an answer for that, the meeting does not go beyond. Okay, so this is something which is a must. Okay, second, now here I will spend some time. You cannot say that you will solve all problems of my target segment. Not necessary. You need to have a very strong value proposition. My example which I will give you is two startups which came 4 or 5 years back, OLX and Quikr. Okay, let us understand the difference between both. Are similar products, both are have the same features, but look at the difference between both the products. Okay, OLX came first in the market. OLX came first in the market, and OLX said, "Kuch bhi bech do," and their advertisement portrayed old ladies selling. Their value proposition was, it's very easy to sell in OLX, or the value proposition is, if you have anything which you don't use, sell it in OLX. The value proposition was simple. I don't have a use for this, I will sell it in the market. Quikr came a bit late in the market. They realized that OLX has captured this mindset or this target segment. So they shifted their base to a different target segment, and they said, we will focus on the middlemen. Okay, and their advertisement campaigns were focused on middlemen. That's why their advertisement, which said, मैंने आपको 22,000 बोला था पूनम राय, अच्छा पूनम अग्रवाल बोल रहे हो. That's the advertisement. Those who can recall the ad, they focused on the middlemen. They said that we save chats. OLX also saves chats, but they focused on one aspect of their product, which was saving chats, and said middlemen can benefit from this ad. So they started focusing on the middlemen. And even today, if you look at it, OLX is very popular with the end users, and Quikr is very popular with the middlemen, the brokers. That is why Quikr ke baad they came out with Quick Car, then they came out with Quikr Homes and shifted their transfer, and they started capturing a bigger market and bigger market. Even today, if you look at it, there are 2-3 platforms like competing with Byju. Everybody is coming out with one value proposition. They don't say, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. My product will take care of everything. Your product can take care of everything, but my value proposition has to be 1 or maximum 2 strong value proposition. So when people think about your product, that 1 or 2 points should come to their mind. And one more classic example, my personal favorite, okay, Cafe Coffee Day. They are in the restaurant industry, but they don't sell like a restaurant. They say a lot can happen over coffee. Come spend time. They are selling space. They are positioning themselves. That's the example which I gave about a business kind of a proposition. Their value proposition is not their food. Their value proposition is the time that you can spend in the cafe. So nobody is going to disturb you with a bill like a paisa photo. Next person is waiting. So that is their value proposition. So understand your value proposition needs to become stronger. This is called product positioning. You might be a tech startup. But if you are not thinking value propositions benefits to the customer, you are out of business. Sorry to say. Okay, I'll give one more example. All of you know about Facebook. Facebook's idea was copied straight from, I forgot that name. It's not, just skip my mind. Starts with M. Anybody? MySpace. I think MySpace, right? Yeah, I think MySpace.com. The idea was taken up straight out of that, modified. But the value proposition in terms of networking and reaching out to people was stronger in Facebook, and it was able to capture the market. So please understand your value proposition makes a big difference in the business model. Okay, technically your product might be brilliant. One example which I will give you, Linux, technical people will appreciate this. Linux versus Microsoft Windows. Okay, if you look at it, Linux is virtually free of cost. Okay, but how many people use Ubuntu as their laptop operating system? People are comfortable using Windows. Why? Because Windows gives them the flexibility of easy to use kind of a thought which has come into their mind, even though it says BKCK, band karke chalu karo. Okay, so these kind of value proposition is that easy to use, user friendly. Whereas Linux, Ubuntu is probably easier, but we have not even ventured, we are not even tried. Why? because somewhere in our mind, value proposition of Microsoft is stronger. So the success of a technical product, technically, probably Ubuntu is much stronger than, or Linux is much stronger than Microsoft. I'm not getting into a debate here, but people tell Linux is much more flexible, but easy to use was the value proposition that Microsoft brought in. So understand this, especially technical products or products which are technology based or domain specific based. You might have a fantastic product in hands, but the marketing has to be the positioning in terms of benefits to one small target segment. It's okay to capture a line share in that market. Your brand recall is much higher. One example I'll talk of, anybody from Mangalore will appreciate this area. Ideal ice creams. I've not gone outside Mangalore, but anybody in Mangalore, you ask them which ice cream shop should I go, they will say Ideals. Okay, that is the positioning. Geographically, only this market I'm going to capture. They have captured that market to a huge degree. Similarly, people from Tamil Nadu, Kalimark, Bovanto, very strong positioning in that segment. Okay, grape juice kind of segment, very strong positioning they have there. The value is strong, that still big companies are unable to displace them from the market because of the value proposition. So that is something which we need to focus on. Okay, liability. Now, I'm sure we all know this, but I just spent 2 times, especially for some of the students who have come in. A lot of times people say partnership mein company start kare ya private limited mein start kare. I'm very clear. You can start with LLP, but I've just compared this with partnership and private limited. Anybody who does not know about partnership and private limited, any student or somebody who does not know the difference, anybody, so that I can use them as a volunteer. Anybody, can you just unmute and tell me if you don't know the advantages of this thing or a practical application of both? Anybody who does not know? There's nothing wrong. I'm not going to ask you any questions, just a case study kind of a thing. Anybody? Okay, everybody knows about it, so I'll just go faster on that. Okay, suppose 2 people A and B start their own business. Okay, 2 people A and B start their own business. Okay, one model, they start A and B enterprises, partnership firm, and one company is A and B private limited. Okay, A has invested 90% in both and 10% has been invested by B. They do their business very well. And they invested 9 lakhs is invested by A, 1 lakh is invested by B. So 10 lakhs is the initial capital. This 10 lakhs, they do good business and they convert it they make 1 crore turnover at the end of the first year. Very good. They do it. At the end of 1 year, they go and apply for loan based on their performance. They get a loan of 10 crores from bank. Don't ask me the name of the bank. Okay. They get a 10 crore loan. They get a 10 crore loan. Once they get this 10 crore loan, they do business properly for the next 2 years. Unfortunately, they have not misappropriated any funds. I'm making a statement here. They do not do anything illegal. Unfortunately, a COVID happened or something happened, and the entire 10 crores turnover, 1 crore turnover plus the 10 crores that they had gets lost in business. The entire money gets lost. Okay, it gets into a loss. Okay, they did not do any misappropriation. I'm making a statement here. Now tell me, in situation 1, the same situation happened in A and B enterprises, or the same situation happens in the A and B private limited. Can you tell me how much money does the bank recover in both the cases? Anybody wants to give an answer? A and B partnership firm, bank comes to A and says what? How much money should they recover from those 2 people? Anybody, please. It's okay. Hello, please participate. Request. Hello, expecting some answers. Anybody? Hello? Am I there? Are you there in the room? At least say yes to being in the room.
Yes,
sir, we are in the room.
So somebody give me an answer. A and B enterprises, 10 crores lost. Bank will recover how much money from A and B?
10 crores.
10 crores. Lovely. And second situation. A and B private limited. Subramanian sir, go ahead, sir.
In that case, what happens is they recover only what the company has, because the owners have the liability is limited.
The liability was limited to the initial capital that I put in the business, if it's a private limited company or even an LLP or an OPC, 1% company. Okay. So what happens is, suppose the company has got some assets which they had put for the 10 lakhs that they had put, and if that money is also gone, the owners can raise their hands and say, boss, we have declared bankruptcy. We cannot part with unless they have given a personal guarantee. Vijay Mallya's case, he has given a personal guarantee. That's why he is liable. But if we had not given a personal guarantee, don't ask me which bank gives loan or not, but technically speaking, if you have not given a personal guarantee, you don't need to spend a single money extra from your pocket, because principle of entity kicks in and you say that's a separate entity by itself. I am a separate entity. That company is legally bound to pay you the dues. I am not that company. The company is not me, and both people can walk out with their heads held high. Whereas if it is your partnership, your liability is not limited. It is unlimited. Even the company has gone in loss, you might have to, if you have personal assets, you have to raise money. The bank or the debtor can actually raise money from your assets also. So this is the biggest thing. Now, setting up a private limited company comes with lot of process bureaucracy kind of a thing. You have to register with MCA. So you are dependent on a CA. The charges are roughly around 25,000 to 30,000. My humble suggestion, don't register as a private limited company. You can take the next way option, because private limited company comes with a lot of statutory norms. Like you have to have 1 AGM or 2 AGMs, annual general body meetings every year. So all these things come into play. You can start as a limited liability partnership or a one-person company. Even if one person wants to start proprietorship ke badle mein, one-person company can also be set. This gives you the flexibility and the ease of use of a partnership or a proprietorship firm. But at the same time, it gives you the flexibility of your liability being limited. So that's the biggest advantage. So whenever somebody is interested in a startup, you can always suggest them to get into an LLP or OPC. However, when investors are looking to fund, they will always want it to be a private limited company which they are putting in. But that can always be converted from LLP, can always be converted to a private limited. Your name also kind of remains the same. But if you are starting from partnership to a private limited company, MCA might not give you the name of your choice. But if you have an LLP, in 99.9% you get the same name as a private limited company. So that's the biggest advantage. Okay, so you can always suggest them to do an LLP when they set their startup. If you have any questions, you can ask me then and there. Don't worry, I'll go to the next slide. Which is costlier, equity or debt? Hello, please participate. I'm asking two tough questions.
Equity.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anybody? Equity or
We'll make
equity?
Bondanalare.
Okay.
And even
equity is definitely costlier because you are giving a stake in the company. Equity becomes cheaper in a company when the company gets into a loss, because you don't have to pay that money the person. But everybody starts. Let me give an example. What I said. Suppose I have a company of mine. I want funds. One person says, suppose Durai sir comes and says, Ramni, I'll give you 1 crore, but I want a 25% stake in your company. Okay. And Subramaniam sir comes and says, Ramni, I'll give you 1 crore, which you need, but I will take 18% interest per annum. Okay. Now understand, 18% interest per annum, whether I do profit or loss, I have to still pay Subramaniam sir if I take money from him, that is loan. Durai sir, I don't have to pay him any interest, but every month from the profit, I have to pay him 25%. Like even if it is 18%, I have to pay him that percentage of stake which he has in the company from the profit. So one is long term, which is if the company is making profit after profit, then equity is definitely costlier. But if my company is gone into loss, then I don't have to, Durai sir is also getting into an equal loss. I don't have to pay him any interest or any other principal amount. So that is the predominant difference. But nobody starts business with the aim of doing loss. Okay. So equity is definitely costlier. But a small point of caution, when you give this gyan to students, the first and foremost thing that comes to their mind is borrow at any rate. No, it is, please be careful. Don't fall into the pitfall of heavy borrowing. Okay. You borrow only if you don't want to dilute at that point in time, but that should be visibility of growth in the business. So please be very careful. Here, you will need to mentor the students by analyzing a lot of pros and cons. It's very easy to say equity is costlier than debt, but sometimes it still makes sense to dilute a bit, go for family funding or something like that, where you still have controls and tomorrow you can buy back the shares from those persons. So that kind of thing will also help. So please be very careful of this. This slide, I will go a bit fast. People on the left, this is Robert Kiyosaki's quadrant, but I will share with you a very important point from a VC perspective, from a venture capitalist perspective. People on the left side are employees and those who have their own startups, okay, or basically self-employed people. A self-employed is those kind of company where I have started something, but the company is dependent on me, on my work, on my efforts, my knowledge, my like I'll give you an example. A high-paying surgeon, okay, whereas on the right side I have an hospital where I employ high-paid surgeons. So that is actually the difference between a self-employed and businessman. Is one, the people on the left side actually trade their time for money, time and efficiency and their experience and their expertise for money, their skill sets for money. They are exchanging. मैं इतना दिन काम करूंगा, or I will do this part of a contract, whether I'm in job or I'm self-employed. They exchange their experience, their expertise, their efforts, their time for making money. Whereas people on the right side are only 5%, where they get other people to work for them and exchange their knowledge for making their money. That's the biggest advantage. So so most of the times when we start a startup, it will definitely be self-employed. It will be dependent on me. But humble request, make sure that the processes are so strong that individual brilliance of you or individual dependence of the founders of the company is limited. If the founder can be easily replaced, I'm making a very important statement. If the founder of a company can be easily replaced, then your company can get a very high premium when you go in the market for funding. VCs love companies which is process dependent and not individual dependent. They will never pump in money if your company is fantastic, great product, great idea, great customer base, but the company is dependent on your skill sets and your knowledge, then you will not get a fund, investor to fund for your company because I am dependent on you. So they want a company which is dependent on processes. Okay, so that tomorrow they might put a clause, 3 years you have to do business with us, you have to work with us. After 3 years, there's no understanding, you can start something on your own. That kind of conditions will be the 3 years, 5 years. But they will not go beyond that because for them, they make big money when they know that they are investing in a company which is not dependent on a few set of people. Because without those people, if my business is falling, then I'm not investing in a company, I'm investing on those people. It doesn't make any sense for them. So understand this, even though you might start your company by being self-employed, but the processes have to be laid stronger. The foundations has to be laid stronger so that this company is dependent on processes rather than individual brilliance. So that is something which I want to spend from Robert Kiyosaki's left side, right side of the 4-quadrant angle. Again, I'm repeating, any questions, please ask. I might be going a bit fast. Okay. This is out of my personal experience with a few startups which I am mentoring, which is the partnership mode. And I want people to answer this question. Understand this question, you can ask me questions in case you have any. A and B start a company with equal investments. I'm repeating, A and B start a company with equal investments. 50% इसने डाला, 50% B ने डाला. A is a marketing guy. वो बोलता B, you take care of product development, delivery, after sales service of you take care of. Technology part you take care of. I will take care of sales part. Okay. That doesn't mean B will not take care of any order. Agar koi pehchan ka somebody is coming and selling, asking for inquiry, B will also sell. Okay. But A's job is sales or marketing and B's job is product development and delivery. This has been very crystal clearly understood by both people. Now the company makes 1 crore contribution. They made a profit of so-called profit of 1 crore. How will they divide a profit? Contribution. They did some business and 1 crore has come in a sales turnover. Their expenses is, normal expenses is 20 lakhs. 80 lakhs is the contribution. How do you think they should divide this? Anybody? Go with your thought flow. Go with your instinct. Go with your gut flow. Hello? This is not done yet. Somebody?
50-50.
50-50. Anything else? You will put some clauses or something? Anything else?
I really don't know.
No problem. No problem. No problem. Durai sir, you were saying something.
No, it's 50-50. That's how it has been.
No, this is one mistake which most of the companies I have come across do it. And please be very careful. Let me give you 3 scenarios and then you will understand what I am sharing. Now, situation 1, A and B. Now, what happens is, I'll give you a hypothetical situation. B, the product development guy, while developing the product and going and interacting with a few customers for, where he was testing the product out. Okay. Those customers said, B, we want this product, sell this product to us. And he made 1 sale. And that customer referred one more customer and said, talk to B. So B made the second sale, B made third sale through references from existing customers. Okay? All through B's efforts. Hypothetical situation. A, on the other hand, sincerely tried very hard. A, on the high, sincerely tried very hard, went to a lot of new potential customers or prospects, tried his best in pitching the product, but unfortunately at the end of the month was not able to get any business. The 3 businesses were got by B's friend circle or B's circle of influence. Okay. Now, would you still say the profit which they made after their expenses of traveling, sab nikal ke, they should still share equally, or something else should have been taken care of? Durai sir?
I would still say it's 50-50 because...
Okay. Now what happens? Okay, you still say 50-50. Now what happens is, suppose this continues for a period of 8 months or 10 months. Don't you think if you were B, a small seed of doubt starts coming into your mind?
Yes.
And don't you think you will probably kill the company? Because you are putting in the efforts and you are sharing an equal amount to A. Kahin na kahin, don't you think you will feel like, oh my God, I am doing everything and I'm not getting the equal, the recognition or the monetary benefits I should get. Correct, na?
Yes, it happens.
So this happens. So the how to avoid this? Understand a classic definition. Your profits is shared for the investment that you have made. The profit is shared for the investment that you have made. But for the work done, you have to document it. You can put, okay, B, you are going to make the software. For making the software, you will be allocated this much lakhs of rupees one time or monthly this much salary for the efforts that you are doing. Similarly, A, your job is to go and sell in the market. So your percentage which you are going to sell in the market, for every sale, you make a 10% commission, 20% commission, or a monthly salary of this much fixed. Understand this. So that will be added to the expenses. Both of them will take the money for the efforts done. Understand what I'm saying? And bachao hua thing will get divided by the people in the terms of their investment. So the 3 orders which B got the order, so he will take 10% on those 3. So there is a place. Now this amount can be debated, but I am saying make sure in your agreement there is a clause which takes care of effort versus investment. Salary is paid for efforts and investment ke liye you get dividend or the profits which you take back from the company. But this has to be taken care of. Now the predominant excuse that we talk to startups, they always say only one thing. Sir, startup, we don't have money to take for ourselves. That comes in next slide. Okay. So I am not in a position to exhibit this. I'm not saying don't take out physically. At least take out an entry. When the company makes big money, you take back the money, but at least put an entry. Company owes A this much. Company owes B this much. Put it on documentation. Anybody, any questions? Because this is one of the biggest things which I have seen people lose trust with their partners. And a good company gets killed. Okay. So you can ask me questions if you did not understand what I said. I think I explained that to the, anybody understood what I said?
Yeah, I understood, but I have a question here.
Please.
Typical case which happened with my this thing.
Okay, sir.
We started a soft drink company. My friend and my partner is the person who knows the formula. He only manufactures. I do not know anything.
Okay.
But I do the marketing and sales part. And when it came to money, generating money, I took the maximum.
Sir, you take the maximum, minimum, that is agreement based. Sir, at the end of the day, idea is only as good as it is get marketed. So in fact, majority of money goes in marketing people only. Okay, the marketing team gets the lion's share of it. That's a fact of life. That's why sales reviews in organizations are driven by marketing people. We say sales reviews. Nobody says product review or market review. It's hardcore because sales guy starts asking the questions after modifications are needed. The front-ending grassroots level sales guy says this modification is needed in the product and the product gets modified according to the customer's needs. It's not vice versa. The product team does not say we have made this changes, go and sell it in the market. It never happens that way. So sales takes the lion's share, but I am saying lion's share ho ya lesser share. I am saying document it, put it on paper. So nobody, because at the time you start a company, all are open to understanding why this money is going. But if this does not take place in the starting, after a point in time, when business is good or hunky-dory, all these differences start adding to trust deficit in the organization. That's what I'm saying. So make sure you are having a caveat which takes care of that. That's my only thing. Okay. So I'm saying put it on paper, document it. 10% or 90% or that's separate, but he knows why he's giving. So if he gets a deal on his, he will still make the 90% of that line share or 80%, whichever share you say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ramanan sir, I have one more question.
Please. Thank you. Now, acha lag raha when people ask questions.
Sir, now at this particular moment, do we need to tell the startup people, if at all, I'm a teacher for the management school, do we need to tell only the profit orientation or something else? I'm just talking about ethics can be brought in over here or not?
Sir, ethics, okay. Ethics, say, okay, I'll put it differently. The HR policies have to be very strong.
True.
See, the ethics itself is, the ethics, there is, in fact, if you go one step deep into it, it could be moral ethics, legal ethics.
I'll just simplify this. Say, Indian version of profit is, there is no limitation. Say 10% profit is enough, 20% profit is enough. What is the limitation for it?
So you're talking about you're talking about the margins that has to be added by the company to go to the market. That is what you're talking about?
I'm not talking about that. When we are going to share the profit, is ethics will come into picture, the legality will come later.
Sir, I'll ask you a small question. Let me understand if I understood your question properly. Sir, I am saying, let us use the same example. A and B, they did business for 8 months. They made turnover of 1 crore. Okay.
Yeah.
They made turnover of 1 crore. Now, according to this thing, I'm sure that for the efforts A put in, for the efforts B put in, they took their share of money. So the 80 lakhs became 60 lakhs. Now, 60 lakhs has to be divided. Okay. Now, the company can take a call that we are not going to divide the full 60 lakhs because we are going to retain it. So 40 lakhs is going to be divided or 10 lakhs is going to be divided. That call company takes in the board of the meeting. Members board. Okay, board of directors will take a call how much percentage that is going to be given. Now that amount will always be given in percentage of the investment by the company only. No, sir. उसमें argument का सवाल ही नहीं उठता because मैंने 50% पैसा डाला है, आपने 50% पैसा डाला है. The investment the profits have to be divided in that ratio only. Yes, if it is a sleeping partner, then that also would be documented in their partnership deed or their MOA that the company's stakes will be profit will be divided in the ratio 60:40, 70:30. That will be documented.
Is it not going to be the dispute point will going to be when you are going to put it in the legality?
No, sir. That is a must. Without that, your agreement will not be valid.
I agree with that. So, do we need to bring the ethical part of it when you are going to speak out of HR, human resource? I mean,
second part. Now the second part comes in. Okay, sir. Let me again reiterate what I said. मैं बोल रहा हूँ, when two people enter into a partnership or a startup company, I am just saying put a clause that for the efforts put in, there should be money available to be taken, which is an expense. It is not profit. It is expense. मैंने इतना काम किया, उसके लिए मेरे को इतना पैसा चाहिए. It could be my salary. Because I'll tell you one big challenge. When I'm going to a VC and I'm going to fund, if suppose you're going to an investor and if I see your balance sheet and you have never taken salary for the entire month, after I put money into your company, I will still say you work without salary. This also becomes a challenge. So you have to have a notional entry, if not physical entry, at least a notional entry that you are taking out money as salary every month. It is a must. That is first point. So I was bringing about the understanding between partners that they have to take out some money from expenses perspective for the efforts put. Okay, because most of the times that never gets documented in the partnerships that I see in most of these startups, especially with students. वो लोग दोनों दो दोस्त जबरदस्त दोस्त अच्छा दोस्त लोग मिलके business चालू करते हैं and one guy is flogging, the other guy is just putting money. So when he is getting the equal returns, the other file feels a pinch of putting efforts and also have put money. And that point in time, it becomes too late to discuss because the agreement is documented on 50-50. Now that point. Now coming to the HR perspective, I said some time back that make sure that your company's processes are strong. When the company's processes are strong, that means individual decision making gets, it becomes like you have to follow the processes. That is where the HR angle comes in terms of setting up the right processes to set up your business. So that is where the ethics can come into play, moral rules can come into play. But then ethics, I would love to keep it out of the forum of today's discussion because that's a huge ball game.
Then there is no point. Thank you.
But my one point is I wanted to talk about Legality has to be taken care of. And I was very clear that my point was, when two people make into partnership, there should be an understanding that ye efforts ke liye itna paisa hai. Creating a new app, itna paisa you will take. Create monthly basis pe ho ya one time basis pe ho. You don't have money to give that guy, no problem. But let that be an entry. Company owes A this much for making the software. Company owes B this much for selling this goods. So when the efforts are documented, whoever does it, he is going to get that paisa also for his efforts put. So that is something which I wanted to share. That's a predominant thing.
Okay.
Can I go further?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next point is, again, and now I'm coming to very common mistakes which people make. This is again, this people don't do. Pay yourself first. One of the reasons that companies get into loss is because the founder member does not pay himself or herself first. Again, this is Robert Kiyosaki's standard dialogue, but a very common practice. I'll tell you a small example. You will understand it better with the example. Okay, first, suppose personal experience. I am doing a business and I owe a few debtors. Okay, I have to pay money to the debtors. With due respect, I'll use Bhargav sir. Bhargav sir has invested in my company. Okay, and I owe him an interest of say 80,000 rupees. I owe Bhargav sir interest, and 2 days mein 31st is coming. So I have to pay him on 31st of this month 1 lakh rupees, 80,000 as interest. Meanwhile, I got one order and I got 60,000 or say 80,000 rupees as one order value. Okay. My salary, which I have designated in the company, is 50,000 rupees, which has been accepted by the board of members. So every month for my efforts, I have to take 50,000 rupees. Now tell me, what should I do? Should I pay as a company decision? Should I pay? I am the owner of the company, single proprietorship company. Okay, should I pay Bhargav sir 80,000 rupees, or should I pay 50,000 rupees and then focus on getting the remaining 30,000 rupees in the next 2 days time? Anybody? What appeals logically to you? Don't just because I've given or don't pay yourself first, don't pay. Logically, what appeals to you?
I say you take a percentage of your salary and the debt you need to pay. 50,000 versus 80,000, and you share it accordingly.
But anyhow, if I have to go to Bhargav sir and talk to him and convince him that I'm going to not pay you 80,000 rupees, okay, it's still going to be a task, right? I have 80,000 rupees. Should I pay him and focus on getting the next?
No, but as you said, your salary is an expense that has to be met, right?
Yes. I'll tell you one of the biggest challenges. I have done this mistake in my personal businesses also, and I realized the impact of that. You know what happens? If I take the money out 50,000 rupees for my salary immediately, the pressure is still on me to get the remaining 50,000 to pay my debtors. If I have to pay salary to other people, if I have to pay some debtors some money, the pressure is still on me, and that makes me run and drive and focus on getting the money. But if I don't pay myself first, okay, and I tend to take it a lapse, I pay my debtors first, and then I say, "Mera 50,000 na first week milega to bhi chalega." The pressure dies down and it becomes a habit. And probably my salary is always only a notional entry for a long period of time. That is why every successful businessman always says, "Pay yourself first," because the hunger to solve other people's debts is much more stronger than solving the hunger for yourself. Okay, and this is again one document which you have to make sure that every startup businessman knows this. Pay yourself first. This is a must. It's a given. Don't compromise on this if you really want to take your business to the next level, because otherwise the urge dries and the lethargy creeps in. Chalega na. And if you do it once, not paying yourself, then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes a continuous habit. And then at the end of the day, the business owes you a lot of money, but your work for 1 year, business has made profit, but you personally have not made any money. And that is a demotivator factor for you to close business. So please pay yourself first. That's the basic. Okay. This again, there's a two call. One is, if you go dilute earlier, I have a prototype and I'm looking out for funding, then you lose controlling stake in the beginning itself for a very little money that you might get. Okay, that's a pitfall. But at the same time, if you go later, you get a lion's share, you get big funding for a equal kind of a thing. So it's a call that you need to take judiciously. That's a big topic, but this is one thing. When you go for funding, prototype is a must in today's times. Not many companies other than government plans or government Elevate 100 kind of scenarios, startup support plans and all, they give money for ideas. It's more like a contest. I don't consider those contests or hackathons as a business setup. It's more like a contest because they have their needs to show that itna companies ko humne fund kiya hai. And most of these companies which have won prizes don't see the light of the day beyond the initial level of grant that they get. I'm not talking of funding. It's a grant that they give. So be very careful of that. But prototype is a must. Government fund, if you want grants, government is the best way to get money. 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs. Most of the state governments have got their own plans. COVID ke wajah some have got post. Karnataka government has got Elevate 100. Maharashtra government has got something called Maharashtra Entrepreneurship Fund or something, seeding fund or something. They come out every year. They come out with some grants for. They do a contest where they fund some startups. Okay, so that's something where it comes without a take. There's no stakes that they take. It's only a grant. Okay, based on some rules. Okay, now here is a question which I want to ask both the which is the best source for funding? You want funds? Can somebody tell me which is the best source for funding? Best source of funds. Funding Allah, funds.
Dowry.
Sir, I love that. Okay, coming after the ethics question. Okay, lovely. Business funding. Anybody? A big cobweb will get cleared. Go with the flow. What's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Family
Funds. Okay, this is the first thought that comes to people's minds. Get money from known circles, friends and family circle. Ma'am, with due respects, nothing personal. The best source of funds is sales. Right or wrong? Understand the impact that if you have customers, the money that you get is clear cut your money with absolutely no stakes, no interest to be given. Am I making as a new cobweb getting cleared? Lot of times, and if you have got sales, your valuation of the company also increases because you have existing customers that you bring to the table. And that is the thing. Never, never, never ignore the power of sales as a source of funding. Because when you go to any startup campus, the first thing that they say is, we need funds, we need people. But I tell you, you don't need funds if your company is making profits or getting funds from existing customers. It actually takes your customers to the next level. Funding can work if you have businesses and you want to expand the market, you want to go big. That is where you take a 200 crore funding so that you can go massive. Like White Hat Junior, you can go massive and you can go and capture the entire Indian market. That is for marketing. If you want funding for product development or you want funding for taking your product to the next level, understand the money you will get is very less. And most important, not only the money that you get is less, the stakes you lose will also be more. Whereas if you want money for funding for expansion of the market, you might get big money. And the stakes, even if you get a 10% stake and your company has been pumped in with 200 or 300 crores of funding, your valuation, the company will, even if you have 10%, your valuation is around 300 crores, you have 30 crores sitting with you straight. So understand this. Why that happened? Because you had a market. Once you have an existing market, it could be a small market where you have a strong presence. Then funding, people are more than interested to put money in your company because you have sales as an established source of funds. So it's only for expansion. You have a business model which is time tested in a particular region or a particular vertical, and they know it works in this region, it works in this thing, it has to work outside. It's only a question of scaling, expansion, linear or lateral. It's only a question of expansion. So people are willing to fund. Why? Because you are having a process. I just have to pump in money and I can go to the market from tomorrow or maximum within a month towards the entire Indian market. So that's predominantly why you need to look at funding. So don't discount the power of sales as a funding, because if sales is funding your organization, you are 100% owner of the organization and you are generating money from your customers without losing stake and without paying interest. That is the power of self-driven sales as a funding option. Start thinking from sales angle also and feed this into your students also when they are setting their startup. If you are dependent on, funding, and this happens, why? Because somewhere we evaluate sales with the funding that company gets. It's not always true. You can hold on to your horses and go for expansion, and that's the time when you can actually, sell your stakes in the company. It's not necessarily that you make money only by selling your company. You can make big money by getting customers to fund yourself as well. So this is customers are one of the biggest sources of funds. So just focus on that also and start looking at that as a bigger option. Okay. Business model canvas. Any questions in this you should ask me, because this is something very important. I'll just try to make it as simple as possible. It's one loaded. Yeah, somebody has a question. Somebody unmuted. Okay. It's one loaded sheet with all information needed. With time, you can keep changing the business model canvas. It's not written in stone. You can keep changing it every time you have a new plan in place, your new ideas in place. So your business model version 1, version 2, version 3 can always be added. This is how a business model looks like. Okay, let me take the camera here. Okay. Yeah, first thing which I want to share, there are 9 particular tabular columns here. This is how the process looks like, not in any sequence. So the first right side, if you look at it, it says customer segments. We have put it as number 1. That is just to indicate which you need to focus on. Somebody needs to mute, please. Thank you. Second one is customer relationships. Third one is channels, distribution channel. Fourth one is value proposition. Fifth one is revenue streams, which is at the bottom of the right. Then key activities, that order can change. 6, 7, 8 can change in different layouts. I leave it to you. Key activities, key resources, key partners, cost structures, and revenue streams. So this is predominantly what goes into it. Now let us understand how this works. So first and foremost, I'll use with an example only, so it becomes very easy for us to understand. I've taken the business model canvas of Ola. Okay. Now Ola Taxi ka first thing that we fill up is customer segments. So predominantly from a customer's perspective, they have 2 people. One is users of taxi service, okay, which is predominantly their customer base. They also have a customer base in terms of drivers, okay, the taxi service providers. These are their 2 customers. After you write down all, so when you start a company, first thing you will write is your possible customer segments. 1, 2, you will write this. Once you write this, for each of the customer segments, you will write down the value proposition. So you will write down the third one. Ignore this customer relationship and this as of now. You will fill up the second column. If I go to my previous slide, which I will share with you, I will share with you all these slides. So if you look at it, number 1 was customer segment. Number 2 was value proposition. So once you do this, am I audible? Am I audible? I got disconnected.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
So okay, power supply dropped. Okay, people are still there or ran away? Okay, let's get started. This is the slide. All of you can see the slides?
Not yet.
Now?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yes,
first we focus on, and for each, so first is customer segments. You will list down all possible customer segments that will be part of your customer list. So in the case of Ola, there were 2 sets. One is people who are going to use the taxi service, and second thing, drivers also. For each of the customer segments, the second thing that you will enter is your value proposition. Now this could have been planned even before the company has started. When you go to a VC or anybody for investment, they ask you for this, your business model canvas. So when you see this, the value proposition has to be done separately for both. One for the drivers, or if you have listed 3 kind of customer sets, then all the 3 customer sets you have to put the value propositions. Why should passengers use your taxi? Why should drivers lend their taxi to you and not to anybody else? So here they have put, it is affordable fares, high quality service, convenient rides, certified drivers, criminal background check. These are all the value additions for the passengers to use Ola as a service. Similarly, from the driver's perspective, they can choose their own working hours. They get more access to more customers, so they make more money. Instant booking, daily payments at the end of the day. So it's as good as their own car taxi, but with a bigger customer segment base. So if you fill up this 2, 3, then what you do, you fill up the channel and the customer relationships. Customer relationships is predominantly how are you, the engagement with the customer, how is it going to happen? Is it going to happen through an app? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be physical? Is it going to be a franchisee model? How are you going to reach out to your customers? So that is where customer relationships, basically the engagement, how you are going to engage with your customers. That is what you fill up in customer relationship. Channels are, how do you reach out to these people? I have a value proposition. I have my target segment. What is my source of reaching out to these people? One is how to serve them. Customer relationship is how to serve them. Okay. And once they become a customer, and the channels is how do I reach out to them to make them my customers? Now it could be social media, it could be partner channel, it could be self-serve. The app might refer somebody and take it to them. So this is what you do. Now the fifth one is revenue streams. So you have to list down how much money you make and all secondary. That's not part and parcel of the business model canvas. But you have to write down how all are you going to make money from this business. What are the revenue streams that your organization can make? So it could be trip cow per commission. It could be Ola money which is there with you. You will get an interest for that. Okay. Inside the cab you can put advertisements. Like on the screens or on the taxis, and you can make some money. You can lease your cabs. You can use the Ola credit card. They have put it there. I don't think it's still existing, but they have put it as a plan. Then corporate accounts can get you a monthly kind of income. Delivery service, Food Panda they can also liaison with some of these companies to deliver foods along with this thing. Ola Prime Pay, share cabs. So all these things can come in this. So you don't have to say how much percentage money you will make when you are making a business model canvas, but you have to write down different areas where you can make money from. Advertisements. It could be, anything that you feel that can be a revenue stream for your business. Once you do that, then you start focusing on the remaining 3, 6, 7, 8, which is key partners, key activities, and key resources. Why this key partners is required is because here I can understand the key partners, key activities, and key resources makes me understand how dependent are you on other people. Like I was talking about the MBA or a business kind of a startup where their intellectual property or the process is strong, but they are dependent on somebody for technology. So for me, the key resources where they are dependent on becomes a strong area where I will be focusing on. Key activities. What are the key activities that your company does? It could be platform growth, manage daily operations, so that I need to know where my working capital money goes from. From the revenue streams, I will be having to fund these key activities. Okay. And key partners gives me, the entire list of business propositions and my dependency with whom I can work on a variable or fixed cost basis. So that gives me an identity of how can I make my cost variable or fixed cost. And lastly, the costing structure of my organization, where all my money goes, platform cost, operation cost, employee salaries, etc. Now, any questions you have on this, please ask me. I'll keep the screen on so that you can understand this. In fact, when I share this with you, any college wanting to create an e-cell, you should actually make a business model canvas for your e-cell. So your customer segments could be mentors, could be students, could be companies, local companies, and for each of them you need to have a value proposition. For example, you can have a value proposition for a student, good infra and support system to start up with a lesser investment cost. Okay. Or giving them extra gyan. For the mentors, it could be networking and liaison with the college. For the, you can actually create a value proposition for each of your potential target segments. Then you can think about how you can make revenue system for the college. The e-cell can actually work into becoming a revenue stream. You can start working, what are the areas, how are you going to reach out to each of these channels, relationships. So when you make your e-cell itself a business, okay, and you make a business model canvas, I can bet on it that your processes gets defined very strongly. This is one of the key things, very, very powerful document. In fact, I'm going to take one session probably after 1 month or so only on this, creating a business model canvas and taking it to a business plan in the next step. But any questions on this from a superficial level, you can ask me. But this is one of the must-have documents for any startup. I go one step further. For your e-cell also, you should make a document. So you actually have a foolproof template in place from a roadmap perspective. Your key partners can be listed. Your cost structures can be listed, because at the end of the day, it's a cost center and you should be focusing on getting back your costs. Any questions, feel free. Anybody? No questions means nothing understood or everything understood? Anybody?
Everything understood, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's go further. So I would say focus on making this. I had one more example, but running short of time, so I'll skip that. Okay, now we come to the process for setting up an ecosystem. It need not be in the same order, but first and foremost, with due respects to some of these colleges, I mean, I don't want to take names, but somewhere it gets it just becomes another set where knowledge is given and there's no business happening as such. So only knowledge imparted is of no use. Sorry in case I'm hurting somebody, but let's focus on getting your startups make money. Okay, that's going to be a key thing. One challenge which you will definitely face is they are not easily measurable. I said that before, I'm saying it again. So you have the morale will start sagging. So everybody in the ecosystem should be always pumped up. And when they are low, they should find a revenue system where they can actually get charged up. That the startup system should pump in and recharge people as and when it happens. The difference between placements and e-cell. Okay, I'm comparing two cells, placement cell and e-cell. One plays the hunting game, whereas one has to play the farming game. Placement cells, suppose if you are willing to invest money, you can actually go to 10,000 companies. I am sure 1,000 companies will come to your campus if you have the resources built in. Whereas here, even if you have resources, it's not about just a start. You have to play the farming game. You have to nurture, probably start with 6 or 7 startups in the first year, have a small target. Focus on getting out of these 7, probably 2 will scale up to 3 years time. And then you have some results to show. So you need to focus on building the startups slowly and steadily. It takes time, but it's all about farming. It's not about hunting. I shoot arrows, at least a few will hit the bullseye. It's not like that. It's all about cultivation and hunting. I said I will speak about this. So here, one small challenge that people will face is who will bell the cat. Okay, this comes. Who should take more responsibility? Faculties, management of the college, students of the college, student entrepreneurs of the college. Who should take more responsibility? So here it's all about collaborative. We should not think it should be one team. I know it's very tough to say, but somewhere if there is activity-based, things happening, a lot of activities happening in your e-cell, small, big, secondary, regular meetings happening, pumping up people, celebrating small successes, then that pessimism doesn't sneak in. And when pessimism doesn't sneak in the dressing room, like they say in cricket, if the dressing room is happy, okay, then results are seen. If the dressing room is not happy, then results are not as good as you see in the cricket field. So make sure that your dressing room is happy here. Rise above and start working as a team. So who should do more work? That should not come into the thought process. Regular action driven. It works as a moral booster. Okay. Don't make it an idea competition. Okay, this is one safeguard that you have to do. Sometimes idea generation ke liye, there are a lot of contests in most of the colleges. I'm personally not a big fan of such competitions, other than the fact that if you are doing that competition only to keep the interest and the aspirations alive, fantastic. But please understand, an idea generation without a customer problem, I don't think does justice to a startup. So you can tell them a problem statement and tell them this is the problem statement. So if for this problem statement, if you have any solutions, come out with an idea, then that idea contest takes your business. It's actually can get transformed to a business model. So that's something which I will put as a very strong disclaimer. Please be careful of that pitfall. Business plan done. There are some business plan competitions arranged. Again, give a lot of importance to value proposition and the research done by the startup for creating the value proposition. So that's something which I would want you all to focus on. Map local market. Now, this is something which I will very strongly recommend. NIT case. Yes, sir. Bhargav, sir.
Sir, if my college people are, students are getting from the business background students. They are with the family business people, and they wanted to come out with the new ideas, like how to nurture that. This is always a struggle for the faculty.
Sir, fantastic. Tell them, ask them one basic question. Whose problem are you solving? That will get your answers. Customers' problems that they are solving with a new idea, tell that idea will work. But if, see, expansion bhi karna hai, mujhe expansion karna hai. I have my family run business. I want to take my business to the next level. That is what they want. I'm saying I'm not this. For that to happen, they need to find out how effective, what their existing customer needs. I can either scale up with their existing customers or I can look out for new customers. So if I'm looking out for new customers, I have to find out what my prospects, new prospects, likelihood prospects are wanting, or what problem they are facing with their current setup with other competition, and how I can fill that gap. So if my idea is to solve one of that problem, yes. Second, I want to grow with my existing customers. I go and check if my existing customers have got some other problems which they have, and I can solve that problem also. If I find a problem, then my scaling up becomes easy. That is what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't, when I say don't idea competition ban karo, nahi bol raha hu. I'm saying let the idea competition.
I'm not telling that, sir. My problem is they are second generation or third generation entrepreneurship, and which is not appreciated by the neither our management nor accrediting bodies like NBA and all. Now,
Okay.
how we can pitch in?
Sir, I didn't get your question. They have an idea.
Students will be having idea who are second or third generation entrepreneurs.
So who does not support their ideas?
We cannot nurture that because point number one, these are not counted for the accreditation process. If at all we are generating into eCell, it will not be appreciated.
Okay. Sir, can I make a statement? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Let it not be there from an accreditation purposes. Okay, but it also adds value that the energy gets maintained. If a company was doing 10 crores, okay, a family run business was doing 10 crores per year turnover, if your help can take that business to 100 crores in 2 years' time, don't you think that becomes a success story for other people to want to start something? Okay, accreditation name is there, but it can also be used to motivate others or get more people onto that business name, right?
True.
So, I mean, if I don't know from the accreditation perspective, but it could also be tell them to start another company in another name, because if it's a family run business, it falls under HUF. If it falls under HUF, taxation becomes high. Okay, if they start it into an LLP, it still makes better sense.
True.
And if they start a new company, it can fall into your accreditation also.
Okay. I got it.
Because most of the time, family run businesses, traditional company to HUF रहेगा, because they get some advantages and something. But HUF में, when you're diversifying, it still makes them diversify the risk also.
Okay.
You can just think about it. You can think about it. You can ask somebody legal also. I'm not a legal guy, but I just thought I'll just give you some scope for ideas. Okay. Yeah. Second thing is mapping the look. The second thing in the second step is, first step is make sure that you build a collaborative mentality. Focus on creating a team where passion is strong. Your people have to be passion driven. Okay. Naam ke vaste, people part of the eCell, avoid. Okay. People who are really passionate about business, and give them a stake in the eCell. Okay. If you are making eCell itself into a business kind of a model, you can actually give some stakes there also. Make it into a collaborative mentality so that the passion is high. Okay. Second step is you have to map the local market. When we use the word ecosystem, okay, it has to be an ecological system. You can't say I'm sitting in one place, I'm going to target the market here and there. Everybody needs to collaborate. So the biggest value addition player in your market will be your local player. Start with your college. I am sure if you look at the expenses or expenditure made by a college, there will be some areas which you have outsourced to some third party from other cities and states, which could have been outsourced to one of your own companies, or you can start a company and that person can actually take care of this. A simple example I'll give you. NITK Surathkal, even before Bounce came into picture, they had some student startups had their own internal cycle system inside the campus. NITK Surathkal mein, so bikes are not allowed for students inside the campus. So they some students took 60 bikes or 30 bikes from their alumni funding. Like alumni sponsored the bikes. Bikes mean cycles. And on the cycle, they created an app-based thing even before Bounce came into the market. But they did not take it to the next level, because I interacted with the students long back. And then I said, get into the market. They got one order from another NIT, some other part. But they did not take it to the next level. And when I went to the campus the next year, those two students who started this company in the second year actually got placements in the final year, and they took up a job and they left it. So understand this. So don't make, there's a lot of avenues. Even your college cup, some challenges can be solved by existing, student startups, which you should think of. You can float that idea. And if you all do excursions, a travel company can be formed where a student, instead of giving it to outsourcing to somebody, you can actually start, starting a travel company. I'm not saying this is the only way. if you sit with your this thing and find out for some pitching in solutions, I'm sure you will come out of something that your college itself can use some startups to take care of their own internal needs. Forget going to the local market also. Local market is also very strong because your college has a brand, and that brand can be leveraged in the local market, and the college can take a small stake in the startup as well. So that is something. Go geographical, and you can use your references from perspective to solve. See, when you start with the problem solving approach and a startup for that, your business has a customer and it's only a question of solving the problem. So that takes your the value proposition becomes stronger, and you have a pathway to start business. I again reiterating one thing from my Saturday session is, don't focus on having an idea. Find a problem and use your brains to solve the problem. Your startups can get success faster. It's much more time tested than finding going the other way around. That's what I say. Third part, networking. It's not a one-time process. It's an ongoing process. There are one point, I put 3 points. First, everybody should network. Second, everybody should encourage networking. Okay, that should be part and parcel. Encourage networking. And the last one is facilitate networking. You can do contests where you can get in people from outside. Your predominant value addition for mentors or getting good mentors is by networking and facilitating some events which you do in your college, so that you can actually network with more people. Some startups can actually, you can start a startup with some other, don't be restricted to the startups have to be from only your college. That's also one more, because we are talking about an ecosystem. You can actually get people from your geographical location to start their startup in your campus. Absolutely fine. I do not know about the accreditation process, but I think your ecosystem will thrive much more stronger. That's something which, because the faculties also get a chance to get more exposure on different kind of projects. So that's one more plus. Use baits. I mean, I'm a very strong people. Carrot and stick theory always works, but of course with external networking, sticks better, but at least don't use sticks, but you can use carrots to get baits. You can get successful people to come and share kind of TED Talks. Anything is possible, but use these kind of this thing where you give a platform of students to people, vice versa, and you can actually build that ecosystem. So networking is going to be a key. Networking, where all you connect from industry, market connect, mentor connect, investor connect. Investors today preferably look for warm contacts before they start talking. They don't want to talk to strangers on investment. So build a level of warm contacts today, so that they are ready to invest in your companies probably 1 year down the line. So start building networks with investors and angel funders, at least, if not with VCs at least. But start looking out for VCs and investors. Start building relationship today. Make the relationships hot, so that 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, when your startups are ready, you can actually approach them. Network is this is a very important point. Network is give and take. Okay, just like how you want to take benefit from the other person also who is networking with you will also look at having some having a win-win kind of a solution. So that other person also should see value, okay, in why he should network with you. I'm not saying that it's going to be given, I give this much, you give this much, but start focusing on creating a value addition in all your startups or even the ecosystem as such. So value addition is going to be a key. Otherwise, networking will fail. If it is going to be one-sided most of the time, it will slowly start fizzling out over a period of time. So that's one caution which you will do. Working with government, there are a lot of grants given. So be on the lookout for all possible grants. Grants are probably the best way to get money without losing sleep. Okay, and that's not much of liability that you have to be bothered of. So participate in all such contests. It adds value for motivation. 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 50 lakhs they give you. Then one more area which if you're a technical kind of a college or a commerce kind of college also, you can undertake some projects for governments, surveys, technical civil engineering. There are some companies which you can actually approach governments to do some civil engineering projects, layout mapping kind of a thing for your local established municipality or the thing. You can actually work out with them. They love because they get ready, good consulting kind of a projects. So governments give those kind of projects. Leverage your college brand to get some of those projects, which you can leverage it to a startup or sublet it to a startup which is founded from your company. So that's one area. Lastly, self-evaluation is a must. Numbers don't lie. So when you are evaluating yourself as a startup, let's be honest to ourselves and not just overrate our startup just because we are part of it. Because I always believe start small, but start sure. Put everything into it and then be honest to yourself. Numbers never lie. So if there's something wrong, you can actually gauge it from the numbers. Expect fallouts. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. This is something which I have learned the lesson the hard way. Business is not for everybody. You need to make sure that you start firm, okay, and expect fallouts. If 20 startups come, my gut feel is only 2 or 3 will go to 3 years. If you're very lucky, probably 1 or 2 only go to the next year. So expect fallouts. So numbers don't lie. Don't be disheartened by numbers, but be honest to yourself and start working on course corrections. So some small suggestions. Let me put this all. Passion is a must. Focus on creating in-house role models because that is going to be long term. Educate oneself, educate the ecosystem, inspire and get inspired continuously. Get external expertise as and when needed. Focus on the business model rather than the idea. I shared Linux versus Microsoft. Takes time for an ecosystem to develop. One last point, very important. There is no one right way to build it. Okay. There are multiple right ways to build an ecosystem as long as the team is focused. So the importance is not on the right way. Brainstorm on the focus being there to reach the end objective and the focus being there for collaborative partnerships. That's what I would rather share. Kind of in case anybody is looking on for mentorship for some of their startups, I'm open for collaboration, consultancy, entrepreneurship boot camps, etc. This is something which you can touch base with me. I open this for questions. Anybody, this video will also be put on YouTube in my channel. You can like it if you like it. You can share, see the other videos as well. Any questions anybody has, I'm open for questions. Next week, next session, I'm planning on how to make classrooms more interactive. How to make your classrooms, much more interactive. That's what I'm thinking of. I'll let you all know in case you have any suggestions. You can receive. So I'm open for any questions. I hope I get some questions. No questions are dangerous. Anybody? And in case anybody wants these slides, just text me in WhatsApp. I'll send you the PowerPoint, so you can just have a look at it. Anybody? Any questions?
That's what was supposed to be my question. Can we get the slides?
Done, sir. 100%, sir. 100%.
Okay. Yes.
Just text me in WhatsApp. I'll just send it. Anybody? Any questions? No questions means did I do some justice?
Yeah, a few more questions are there. I'll take it on discussions are required. A set of startups are there in my college.
Fantastic.
I'll do that.
Done, sir.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No questions? So, okay. In case there are no more questions, I think we can wind up. Can I?
Yes, we can wind up. We'll meet in the next.
Okay. Thanks so much. Wish you all the very best. I hope I did some justice. Thanks so much. Take care. God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.